You cook food and create content about it for a living.
Threw that at KFC, but whatever it is, I'm going to fit it in a burrito.
Sorry, what was that?
He's going to get the exact same as the person in front of me, but don't tell me what it is. Sorry.
I had loads of free time working from home in lockdown, and I just, for a laugh, made a few TikToks. And after making a few of them for my mates, one of them went semi-viral. At the time, 100,000 views. I was like, that's mental. And to this day, my most viewed video isn't even on my own page. So
it's about time for my mum to come and grab a bit, have a dip and have a good old scram.
yeah, my demographic's 73% blokes. So it'll always be blokes on nights out saying, oh, you're that burrito guy.
We're an old burrito monster, absolute legend.
To them, I'm like this person on the screen, but I'm just like the most normal dude ever. As I was just coasting away, just not thinking about the future, playing PlayStation, drinking too much alcohol. You don't want to blink and you'd be 50 years old.
Sauce and spice, it looks quite nice and it's time to take a bite.
If you're a food content creator, I know how to sort of get views nowadays. I've got strategies in place. I guess the three things are...
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Talk Twenties podcast, the podcast where we talk about the highs and lows of your 20s and help you get one step closer to figuring out adult life. Don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button to make sure you never miss an episode of us in the studio. Today, I'm joined in the studio by El Burrito Monster, also known as Ollie Patterson. It's been an amazing conversation with him today. We've talked all about turning something that he loves into a full-time job, creating content on TikTok. And we've talked of everything from brand deals all the way through to managing your money and how to kind of grow on social media. It's a really great podcast. Tune in now. So, hey, Ollie, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Gaby. Thanks for having me on.
Delight to have you here.
Yeah.
For our listeners who may not know who you are, tell us your story.
I'm Ollie. I go by El Burrito Monster on social media nowadays, which the reason why that's my username is because it used to be that on PlayStation and no other reason than that. And when I downloaded TikTok to sort of watch other TikToks, I was like, what's my username going to be? I just went for my old PlayStation username.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did a maths degree because it felt like the logical next step after doing further maths and physics at A-level and having no idea what to do with them. And then after leaving uni, I had no idea what to do with that. Eventually ended up making videos on social media, and now that's my full-time job.
I mean, it's a pretty wicked story. You said you had a maths degree as well. How do you go from doing a maths degree to becoming a content creator? Like, it's a pretty crazy turnaround, right?
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's kind of like, you want to do what you're good at and enjoy. I was good at maths, but maybe didn't enjoy it so much. So yeah, I was good at cooking. And then I was like, you know what? Lockdown hit, I was working from home. The job I was working at the time, I'd kind of automated it to the point where I was only really working 2 hours a day. And not that they knew about it.
That's
but
efficient.
There's nothing they can do about it now, but I did all the work, so and more. But yeah, I was able to do most of my office job in about 2 hours a day. I was quite good at computers, so I automated most of the tasks, wrote a few Excels and sort of had all my sheets to do all the work for me. And then I had loads of free time working from home in lockdown, April, March 2020. And I just, for a laugh, made a few TikToks and sent them to my friends, and we were all laughing about them. We used to play PlayStation together, so I used to make the videos during the day. We'd go on PlayStation in the evening and just sort of laugh about the video I'd made that day. And after making a few of them for my mates, one of them went well, at the time it felt like it was viral. I wouldn't consider it viral now, but at the time, 100,000 views. I was like, that's mental.
Yeah.
Carried on making a few more, eventually got 300,000 views on another one, made a few more, then got 3 million on one.
Insane, yeah.
And then kind of just carried on making videos because it was this is the most exciting thing, the rush of
the adrenaline.
Whatever the brain chemicals going on when you're going viral is it's like a high that you're trying to chase. Eventually, sort of brands get in touch with you and be like, we noticed you get loads of views on social media, can you put a product in a video? And we'll pay you X amount for it. And you go, yeah, sure. And then I think it was it's about a year and a half ago now. So 2021, around September time, I think, I just started to make more money from social media than my job. It was a little bit risky at the time. It was kind of it was not quite, but almost above it. So I was I wasn't really enjoying my job so much. And I had an opportunity come out of the woodwork of sort of going and living in a content creator house for 3 weeks and sort of making content for this brand. And that was a big enough deal that I was going to earn more from that in 3 weeks than I would in over a month of my job. So I was like, you know what, let's make the jump. Let's go do that, quit my job. I actually asked my work, I said, can I get 3 weeks off work to go and do this? Yeah. And they said no. So I said, here's my notice and see you later. But
Yeah.
the work, like they'd seen my TikToks and stuff going
Yeah.
viral and stuff, so they all knew what was going on, and
Yeah.
they were all well excited for me. My old boss was like, when I had the phone call, she was like, "Oh my God, congratulations!"
Yeah.
So it was all in good stead. But
It's nice
made
that
the
they
jump, and I've been
support.
full-time content creator for about a year and a half now.
Amazing. So talk us through those early days. So someone's in their 20s and they kind of want to do something maybe similar to you. It might not be food. I know you make these incredible like recipes and creations on TikTok. And like every time I watch one, I'm like, I'm starving after the end of it. But for someone who's kind of wanting to go maybe into that space or kind of understand the mindset of jumping from something that you weren't loving to something that you ultimately love, but you're slowly building up the income from it. Like, can you like take us back to your headspace that you were in at that time?
I mean, at first it was purely, it felt like it was for fun. I was making these things and I was just enjoying making them. And
Yeah.
I mean, at the time I was still sort of applying for other jobs and stuff. I was like, you know, I had a maths degree, but I was working in like supply and logistics, sort of organising like lorries around the country effectively. So it wasn't super mathsy. You know, I had friends who were an accountant, software engineers. I was sort of in finance. So I was still applying for those kind of roles. But I didn't do too great at uni. I got a 2-2 because I just didn't really put any work in. So it's a lot harder to get a job in those sort of industries with a 2-2. So I was obviously struggling. I was applying for loads. And yeah, I started making these videos while still applying for these other jobs. So it was kind of like maybe that might materialize into a thing, maybe not. But I hadn't really committed to it as much as I, in hindsight, wish I had done. I was still making, sort of being super relaxed about it, making the odd video during the working day, posting it, but then still playing PlayStation all evening and sort of like drinking too many beers midweek and not really committing as much time to it as I could have. So, you know, in theory, in hindsight, I could have got to where I am now, sort of 9 months faster if I'd actually committed to it or put more effort into it a bit more early. So at the time, I take a relaxed approach, maybe build up a little side thing, and maybe it might materialize. And then when I actually decided to put the effort in is when the numbers started actually really picking up. You know, it started off as the odd viral video, then most of them getting not much traction. And then when I actually started to put the work in and think about the process of video making and how to go viral and how to do this, how to do that, is when it started to actually like, sort of take off for me. So it was kind of like when I decided that I was actually going to put the work into it, hey presto, it starts to materialize into something bigger. But
Yeah.
I think putting the work in and just finding your passion, putting it out there, you know, whether it be cooking, whether it be woodworking, whatever it is,
Yeah.
just whatever your job is, if you're not super enjoying it and that's not going to be your be all end all, build up some sort of hobby on the side that might be monetizable. It might not be, but either way, if you enjoy it, it doesn't matter if you don't make money from it because
totally
you're enjoying
true.
it anyway. So
It's totally true. You know, you've got to do something that you enjoy as well at some point in your life, whether that makes you money or not. I completely agree with that. For you then, you said your mindset kind of switched when you did kind of go and do it full time and you started working, it sounds like a little bit more strategic about how you were doing your content. What kind of strategies did you start to learn weren't really working for you?
Well, I started to make friends in the content creator space effectively. So I sort of met and spoke to people who are in that same field and we just sort of shared our analytics with each other, said, okay, what's doing well right now? How can we all do better together? So like to this day, two of my best mates in the space are they're two 40, 50-year-old dads who also started making TikToks during lockdown. And now, I mean, I've got 500,000, they've both got over 1 million on TikTok. And we just we've got a group chat where we just chat away, we share all of our brand deals together, like just say, oh, this brand's doing this brand's doing that, oh, it might be worth getting in touch with this brand to do this, and we'll share our analytics, be like, okay, so there's various things that do well on TikTok, and it's like, are they looking for shareability or are they looking for watch time? The TikTok algorithm switches whether it prefers shorter content, longer content, shareable content. Obviously the shareable is to bring people to the app, so that people will send a link to their friends and their friends will come to the app, but then the watch time is what keeps them on the app when they're there and sort of fulfilling them. So TikTok looks for different things from different creators and working out what the TikTok algorithm wants from you is kind of the best way to sort of push yourself out there.
And for you, what were people coming to your page for?
Well, my whole thing has kind of been crazy food ideas that maybe aren't that expected. So I'll spend my life scrolling through Instagram Explore, the TikTok For You page. My screen time is a bot. Well, I don't know what word I was going for then. My screen time is extremely high. Because I mean, my life now is effectively consuming and making food content. So it's 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day, every day is just either making or consuming food content. So whereas some people will go on for an hour a day. So I'm spending my life thinking of this stuff and they can go on for an hour and enjoy me and other food creators coming up with these weird and wonderful ideas that sometimes you might want to recreate at home, but a lot of the time it's maybe just to enjoy the comedic elements of whatever it is that you're making.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of entertainment as well as like, love that.
Definitely.
For sure. And for you then, you kind of, is you really like turning your passion into a business. And we kind of asked you when we had coffee before this, like, has any part of it made it like not make you happy, if that makes sense? Because once you start, a lot of people say when you turn something that you love into a job, you then find things about it that you don't like. For you, is there anything that kind of feels like that?
I mean, with this sort of industry, there's definitely like a downside of when things aren't going so well for you. There's so much like anxiety and pressure there.
Yeah.
It's like if the views aren't there, it can make you super like unhappy. And if you do a brand deal and the brand deal really underperforms, it really gets to you because you're like, this person's like paying for this video, this service, and it's not going anywhere. And a lot of people, I can see them suffering with that, and they, they're obviously like really like upset about it not doing very well. And it's just kind of dealing with them, being like, okay, you kind of need to overcome that and be like, okay, why didn't that do so well? Because there's always a reason, and it's very rarely shadow banning. It's something to do with the content itself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like learning to take sort of a third person approach, just to analyze your own situation and take your emotions out of it a little bit and be like, okay, this is a business at the end of the day. There's a reason why my content's underperforming, and what can I do about it? I think overcoming that hurdle to be like, okay, let's not be down in the dumps about it and just figure out how to fix it, and kind of that resilient mentality you kind of got to build up a little bit over time, because you're not going to be pulling loads of views in every video. It's just never going to happen. But you can try and do the best you can and bring those numbers up if they're not where they want you to be.
We love a story of like overcoming like difficult things and stuff like that. Is there a moment that you remember where you've kind of gone through that? You don't have to name names of brands or anything like that, but like where you've put something out and you thought, I really wish that I'd done a lot better, but then you learned something like from it.
Oh, I mean, a lot of the time is I've thought of a really cool idea and I put loads of effort into it, and I'll edit the video and it'll just get it'll barely get any views. But I mean, one of my first mega viral videos was just me re-editing the same video I'd made 6 months prior. I mean, you can have a cool idea for a video, and sometimes it's just re-editing. So like, you've got to keep all the clips you've ever filmed on your phone, or get more iCloud storage, and don't delete it. Because I've got friends who have filmed it all through TikTok, or they've deleted it off their phone to clear space and stuff. And I'm like, this content is all reusable. Like sometimes, like, so I had a video that I put loads of effort into. I thought it was a really cool idea. I made burger buns at the shape of like a burger and a hot dog sticking out the end, and it was basically a hot dog in the middle of a burger. It was kind of a fun little idea, but I'd like spent a few hours filming it and editing it. I was like, oh, this is a really cool idea. Why hasn't it done super well? And it got like 5,000 views, and I re-edited the exact same video 6 months later, but in a better style, in a way that started at the middle of the story rather than having some weird longed out intro, which kind of people scroll past before they even watch the video. And the same one got like 6 million views. So
that's incredible.
It's learning to edit short form content. You're not going to know how to do it overnight. It's taken me sort of 2 years to sort of get to the point where I know how to make it in a way that will reliably get a certain number of views. And it's just learning how to edit short form content, which a lot of people have done the exact same thing. It's the new wave of social media, I guess.
A quick moment to tell you about our sponsor, Zopa Bank, who are one of the UK's leading digital banks. They're all about fair, simple, and easy to use financial products. You just need to head to your app store and search Zopa to check out for yourself. Is there a formula that you'd say that you kind of use for most of your videos then, because you've kind of, the algorithm is favoriting, is sending people with content your way?
It's less formulaic and more just knowing how to tell a story.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will say, okay, so for food, for example, you don't say, okay, guys, today I'm going to make a chicken madras. Let's get started. It's one of the worst ways you can intro a video, right?
Yeah.
You could do something like, have you seen this chicken madras recipe before? Or or maybe start with, this is my favorite curry of all time, and I'm going to show you how to make it. Because if you announce what it is straight at the start, everyone already knows what the video is going to be. So like, what if I don't want to see a chicken madras get made? I'll scroll right past. But if you say, this is the best curry, I'll be like, what's the best curry? I want to hang around to see what curry you're talking about, type thing. So it's
like a huge hook, isn't it? It's like, okay,
knowing how to tell the story is basically everything. And some people, I mean, I get sort of messages all the time. With some people have sent me their videos and said, oh, I made this video, but I don't know why it didn't do so well. And a lot of people will just dance around it, but I'll be brutally honest with people and say, okay, cut this bit by this amount of seconds. Your intro's too slow. You're being too like drawn out with it, or there's always something like you can re-edit the same video and it just does way better. So it's knowing how to tell a story in a way that engages people. Even when you're sat around in a group of friends, you know, some people tell stories and you can see everyone's eyes glazing over as they just take too long to tell the story. Whereas I think the people who know how to tell those stories would probably be the perfect people to make social media content, because storytelling is holding attention, holding engagement, and that's just learning how to do that. And then you get the views.
You cook food and create content about it for a living, but loads of people listening to this podcast might just love food and kind of want to create some of your recipes, but they might not have the budget or the time to, because I know some of your meals take you hours and hours and hours to put together. Top tips then, what are your favorite kind of go-to meals that are relatively low cost and quite easy to make that you think people are missing out on?
I mean, when I'm not making content for social media, I won't spend more than sort of 5 minutes cooking a dish.
Yeah.
So I batch make a massive set of rice and I'll store it in little hummus pots, like reuse hummus pots in the freezer. So it's like a perfect portion of rice. I'll always have a big bowl of, it's like coleslaw, but without the mayo. So I'll shred up some carrots, onions, cabbage, add some coriander, chilies, lime juice, salt, pepper, maybe a bit of mango chutney, toss it up, and it's basically this little slaw style salad. So I'll just rice, slaw style salad, and I'll just get a chicken breast out of the freezer or some like plant-based shawarma, or chuck it on top, add some light garlic mayo, happy days, 5 minutes, cook it in the George Foreman. Just gets you protein, gets you filled up, gets you some nutrients, just like easy, simple food. I mean, there's lots of cheap options out there as well. I mean, chicken is crazy cheap nowadays. I mean, I know that the cheap chicken is not the most ethical, but like if you need to eat cheap, you can buy like a kilo of chicken thighs for a few quid and that'll do you meat for the week potentially.
When you're coming up with like your creations and stuff like that, what's your creative process for like creating a meal? Because some of them are wild. Like I think I saw like a watermelon pizza or something like that. Some of the ones you have are like crazy.
I mean, the watermelon pizza was a video designed to get a reaction.
Yeah.
It's not the sort of thing I'd go out my way to make just to eat. I made it thinking, okay, pineapple pizza is quite controversial. Let's try and make something.
That's actually my favourite pizza.
I don't like pineapple on pizza. No, thank you.
Hawaiian, that's like a great pizza in my opinion.
To be fair, I don't really like pineapple full stop. So maybe it's if I like a little pineapple salsa on a taco, but like big chunks of pineapple on like pizza.
I think I'm a sweet tooth, so
are you?
yeah.
No.
So yeah, that's probably
so
why
when you
I
go
like
to a
it.
restaurant and you're only having 2 courses, are you going starter and main, or are you going main and dessert?
I'm going main and dessert always.
Starter and main every time.
No.
I'd choose a cheese board over a dessert.
No, that's my worst choice. I would never pick a cheese board.
Do you like cheese?
Not really, no. And my family's French as well, and they obviously love it, and I'm just like,
So you've not been disowned for that? Or?
No, I'm not. And red wine as well. Don't really like red wine, so really not very French.
Okay. I mean, I prefer white to red wine myself, but yeah, no. I don't like vegan cheese though.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you eat a lot of vegan food?
I eat a lot of plant-based meat options and stuff off camera because I find my body just feels it. Well, it's on average, plant-based content on my page doesn't perform as well as meat content. So I'll be like, my content is very meaty. So I'm like, okay, off camera, I've eaten so much meat for a video that like now I'm going to have like something a bit more plant-based.
I get you.
But plant-based cheeses, I will never like promote them until they get good. Maybe one day they'll get good, but right now they're not.
I agree. I did Veganuary like a year ago, and that was the worst thing about it. Like I bought some and I opened it up and it just smelled like gone off Watsits. That's the only thing I can describe it as. It literally was, not nice.
Yeah, no.
Couldn't eat it. Went straight in the bin.
Whereas the meat options are there. Like anything that's like small cut meat is basically like, it's just as nice.
Yeah.
Like shawarma or little chicken pieces or chicken nuggets or anything like that.
What would be your dream meal then? If you were to create something for yourself, like no cameras, no nothing, what are you eating?
Ooh, it's a really good question. Is it? Am I being budget conscious, or is it this?
You can choose whatever.
If the ingredients cost money, am I spending the money on the ingredients anyway?
Yeah, you're spending them.
So because obviously you can't choose like the most expensive possible.
So you can do whatever you want with it.
Oh, that's a really tough question. Most of my dream foods I just make anyway for camera. Like I do like the sort of thing. Most of the time I like the sort of things I make. Like I love Indian food. I love Mexican food. I love all meats. I love lamb especially. I love steak. Chicken is obviously versatile. You can have it with anything. But yeah, I just, it would have to be spicy, but like, I literally, even for lunch today would be like, I had a monkfish and chorizo burrito. this morning. I made it this morning, had it for lunch, and it was lush.
It's a casual Tuesday lunch.
Yeah. I only had half of it is ready for later.
Yeah.
I used to eat whole burritos.
Wow. And they're big, the ones you make.
I made the switch to only eat half burritos and start exercising more, and I ended up losing 5.5 stone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it obviously had that been a result of making so much content and eating all the food beforehand, or?
Yes. Yeah. So I was kind of, when I started making content, I was a little bit chunky, and then I started making all this content, and I was working full time making content and sort of just playing PlayStation all evenings and drinking loads of beers midweek and stuff like that. So when I quit my job, I was able to sort of get more time for the gym. I cut down on midweek drinking a little bit. When I made content, I would eat half of it, wrap up half for later, or if it's freezable, I'll freeze it. And I've been giving away bags of freezer food to all my friends and families for the past year and a half, and just doing loads of exercise. So yeah, I mean, from starting content to quitting my job, I probably put on 3 stone, and since quitting my job, I've lost 5.5 stone.
Wow.
I was a big boy, and I just feel tons better. I just feel more alive, feel more alert, awake. If I go for a run one day, I'll be super productive the next day. I'll be able to get loads more content done. Whereas if I don't run for a week, I'll feel super groggy, and I won't be as productive. So it's like, it really, like, my head's clear.
Gives you a better headspace.
I'm ready to go.
I love that. It's really good to hear. And I think, in kind of doing all of that, has your mindset shifted in any other kind of way?
Well, I feel like I'm just, it just gives you so much more confidence and stuff. Like a year and a half ago, you wouldn't catch me doing a podcast in front of camera because I was just so insecure about my appearance. I mean, all of my early content, you'd see my hands and that was about it. You just see my chubby hands on camera, and you wouldn't see the rest of my body because I was so insecure about being in front of the camera. I was not confident about my appearance, whereas now it's like, and you get affirmation from social media and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, for the past maybe 6 months is the first time in my life I've been secure about my appearance and how I look, because I've always had like such insecurities, and for the first time I'm like, okay, I like how I look now for the first time in forever.
Oh, I'm happy.
It's a nice feeling.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. That's really cool. So one of the things that you have also done, aside from turning content creation into a business, is you've kind of been a little bit more business savvy around the ads and working with brand side of things. Tell us how you run all of that stuff.
Yeah, so there's obviously the normal doing sort of brand partnerships on your own pages, but the problem with that is you're legally required to declare it as a hashtag ad. But now you've even got to have the paid partnership logo over the top. And the way humans' brains works is you see it's a paid partnership and you'll just immediately scroll past it. I mean, even now I'm more selective with the brands I work with in that. Like at the start, you feel like you have to maybe take what you can get, whereas now I'll turn down deals that aren't a really good fit for my page. I won't name any names, but I've turned down a couple recently. But when they're on my page, I want it to be a super good fit for my content. I want my audience to be like, okay, I like what he's cooking. I quite like the product. So if it's not a super good fit, then I'll avoid doing it. So I started off getting in contact with, I did a brand deal with Burrito, who, if you don't know them, it's a northern burrito chain. There's maybe 16 locations around like the north of England. There's maybe 1 or 2 in London. And I basically just suggested to them that I maybe try and take over their TikTok for a little bit and sort of make videos for them. So I started doing that. It was a super low rate. I did it really cheaply for them just because I thought I wanted to give it a go, test it out, see if the concept worked. And I ended up getting millions of views on Burrito's TikTok page just from like editing, completely faceless, completely voiceless, just like me behind the camera editing a video and using the TikTok text-to-speech to add the context to the video. And to this day, my most viewed video isn't even on my own page. It's on Burrito's and it's got 15 million.
Wow.
So after that, I ended up doing something similar with Mission Wraps, took over their TikTok, and I'm gradually, at this point, I was proving myself and being like, okay, I'll sort of, it'll be a little bit more because I've proven myself now, so I can charge a little bit more. Did Mission for a while. In the first month with Mission, 20 million views on their account. That's incredible. So I'm like, okay, right, I'm really proving myself now. So now I've sort of, I've ended up leaving Mission behind for their direct competitor. Brand deals come and go. You can have 3 months where you won't get any, but if you've got these sort of recurring things that, okay, I'm making content for X, Y, and Z the next few months anyway, so if I don't get any brand deals, I'm not going to be sort of like struggling to make ends meet. So sort of getting those sort of monthly retainers in was like a big thing for me, especially because I'm hoping to buy a house at some point in the next year or so. How
do you feel about the process of buying your first home? Do you feel like you know a lot about it? I know a lot of people, young people, say they don't.
Absolutely clueless. I'm clueless about most things, to be fair. I mean, my mum still has to help me out with a bunch of stuff. Well, she doesn't have to, but she chooses to because she just like loves to get involved and stuff. So she'll come down and be like, oh, Ollie, your car insurance is due for renewal. I'll be like, oh, nice, I forgot about that.
It's nice when someone else is still like able to help you out with that stuff, because it's hard, isn't it? Like stepping into like that adult life when you're like, I'm trying to figure out everything. It's a lot at once, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to know, and like, you know, adulting doesn't really get taught to you ever, does it?
No.
I mean, that's what you do. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
Who knows how to adult? All we're taught is how to like, you know, what is coastal erosion and longshore drift, or like
I don't know,
or who won the Battle of Hastings. That's what school is, right? It's like just like stuff that's like, okay, you're learning for the sake of learning, but like how to live in the current world is like a complete anomaly. I mean, luckily we've got Google nowadays. We've got smartphones that we can Google what to do, but sort of how to register a business with a company's house, or how to file out a tax return, et cetera, et cetera. But
we literally did that on a podcast.
Oh, did you?
Week. Well, podcast is out today, but when this comes out,
nice.
It'll been out a couple of weeks ago.
I'll be having to file tax returns at some point. I think the financial year ends on 6th of April. I think it's due by October.
Yeah.
So I'll be filing out a tax return then, or paying an accountant to do it. I've been Googling that. It's like 150 quid and you can get an accountant to do all your tax returns and stuff. I've got a couple of cool apps as well. So it tracks it all for me. So I don't need to keep track of anything. I've got a thing where every time I buy groceries for videos, I'll pay through my business card, take a picture of the receipt. It all goes on the app, tracks it all, categorizes it all. Send all my invoices through it. It's really handy, to be fair. And I've got QuickBooks now as well. So I can export all those transactions to QuickBooks.
Not sponsored by QuickBooks, but I use it too.
Come on, QuickBooks, get involved, get a sponsor in.
I think it's a good reminder, actually, that when you start your own small business is to put kind of things like that through the business. Like it's a business expense. You're creating this for a business purpose. I think a lot of people don't really realize what counts as a business expense when they first start out.
Yes. And the answer is a lot. I mean, if you go, as a content creator, if you go on holiday and you film content on holiday, you can expense half the cost of the trip as a business expense. So like you end up spending not that much money from your personal account, and I don't.
The future for El Burrito Monster, what does that look like for you?
So I mean, at the moment, I'm really focusing on just like social media growth, expanding out my portfolio, I guess. I mean, managing brand accounts, I'm able to sort of like, I'm getting brands now approach me a lot because they've seen what I've been doing for other brands, and they'll be like, I want you to do that for me as well. So that I expand out that presence a little bit. I mean, at some point, I might have to employ someone to help me out with it all, and just sort of teach them how to do it. When I hit 100,000 followers on TikTok, I'm going to sort of buy a food truck, and I'm going to use my TikTok to promote my food truck. Because when I was a kid, I always loved cooking. I was like, I'd love to have a food truck when I'm older. But then like when I got to 100,000 and the sort of money starts to come in, you're like, oh, maybe I'll wait till 200. And you're like, at this point now, I'll do a pop-up at some point, I'm sure, because people always want to try the food you make.
Yeah. It's too good. It's too good not to try.
But just to have an actual fixed restaurant, the time to put into that, you'd stagnate your entire social media growth, and you won't be able to put out as much content, and you potentially you'd lose the algorithm. Like it's keeping the algorithm on side is you need to keep posting, otherwise you will lose it, and it really is hard to build it back up. Have
you had moments where you kind of felt like it wasn't really on your side and your content wasn't really hitting like you wanted it to? And how do you get like out of that headspace? I mean, yeah, absolutely. It goes through waves of like, sometimes you'll be in a hot period, sometimes you'll be in a cold period. And I think nowadays I'm able to look at it all quite objectively, because I've been through the highs, I've been through the lows. And as long as the views are okay, I'm sort of like happy. And I think I know how to sort of get views nowadays. I've got strategies in place. I know how to intro a video. I guess the three things are watchability, rewatchability, and shareability are the three things to think about. So shareability is like, it's a cool idea that people will send to their friends and be like, oh, for me, I want to make this thing, let's make this at the weekend. Or maybe they'll send it to their friend and just be like, look how crazy this is. Watchability is sort of like the flow of the video, you know, how it keeps people on, how you intro it, and how you sort of, the flow goes from one clip to the next, and it's sort of continuous. And rewatchability is putting little bits and bobs in the video that make people want to rewatch the whole thing all over again. So a few things I do for that is maybe I'll use a sword to cut up an onion. And it'll be for 0.8 seconds of the video. They'll just see a big bloody sword cutting an onion, and then they'll be like, did he use a sword just then? And they'll rewatch the whole video just to confirm their thoughts that it was a sword. Or I'll sort of put like a Halloween mask in the background, or sometimes I'll like switch from wearing a t-shirt to just my apron and nothing underneath, and it's like, did he take his shisha off for a second? Just little bits and bobs like that make people like get confused and rewatch the whole video just to confirm. So I'll just put in little tidbits like that, and it generally seems to work out quite well. And also trying to give people value from the video, you know, working hard to make it look good and taste good, and putting up a recipe if you think people need to go and try this, and
trying to give people value from the content as well as just tricking them into watching the video. Because you want to get people to follow you as well afterwards. So if you don't provide any value in the content, they'll just maybe watch and scroll past, but you need to give them something that makes them want to be like, oh, I want to watch more videos like this in future.
Just casual that you have a sword lying around your house.
Yeah, I've got 2.
2 swords?
Yeah, I've got 1 katana and I got 1 like medieval, it's a hand-and-a-half sword. I bought them when I was 17, actually.
Yeah.
I got my first paychecks from my waiting job, and I
decided to buy a sword.
Well, I loved Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. Actually, was Game of Thrones out at that point? No, maybe Lord of the Rings type vibe at that point. If the zombie apocalypse happens, I'm prepared.
Yeah, we need you as our protector.
Yeah.
One of the things we like to talk about on the podcast is our biggest adulting failures, something that we've made a big mess up of, and sometimes they teach us like the biggest lessons. But for you, what would that biggest adulting failure be?
So I was thinking about this actually, and it was before I even started social media. I was 22 probably, I was maybe 23. I was working an office job that I knew wasn't like the long-term thing. I was applying, I had a maths degree, but I was applying for various other things and finance jobs, software jobs. But I was applying for everything, right? And I was like, let's throw out a bunch of stuff and see what sticks. And I applied for a software engineering job. And on my CV, I was like, oh yeah, I can do C++, Java, blah, 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 blah. I said I could do all the coding languages. And got an interview, and I got to interview. It was an hour-and-a-half interview. The first half was a 45-minute, just talking about your life and like your experience. And I think I aced that bit. I was smashing it because I'm quite a good talker sometimes. And then it got to the technical section where they asked me about how I would code different stuff. And I was like, in my head, I was like, if I get the job, I'll just learn how to do them all before I get it.
How did that go?
45 minutes of not being able to answer a single question was rough. It was rough, I tell you. Don't do that, guys. You're probably going to get caught out if you do that. Yeah, you might get an interview, but when you get to the interview, they'll know pretty quickly that you can't do what you said you could do.
Yeah. Did you get the job?
No, I didn't get the job. I learned to not apply for jobs that I was massively underqualified for.
I mean, sometimes you just got to give it a go, haven't you?
You gotta give it a go. I mean, sometimes maybe you could just about get away with it. If you maybe I should have revised
before
be able to talk about it, not to be able to do it, just to be able
to
talk about being able to do it. Maybe if I'd done that a little bit. So it depends how good you are at winging it, but I wasn't too great at winging it.
So one of the things we like to talk about as well on the podcast is the fact that like a lot of people will look up to you as a content creator and think that you've got life figured out. Like, you're smashing it, you're doing amazing videos, you're getting really great brand deals and stuff like that. But we know from speaking to so many people on the podcast that everyone is going through something, everyone is trying to get better at something in their life, and absolutely no one is perfect. So for you, what's that one thing that you're trying to get better at for yourself at this moment in time?
So I mean, even this is what sort of stumped me at doing anything that was based on sitting down. So the reason why I probably would never be able to do an office job, or the reason why maybe I didn't do great at uni, is I just can't concentrate on things like that involve sitting down and just actually like getting down to the nitty gritty of it. I love making content, I love filming content, but even now the editing part is obviously the worst bit, and I'm super inefficient at it as well. Like, it takes me as long to edit as it does to cook. So I'll cook for 4 hours, and it might take me 4 hours to edit, and I could do it in an hour if I just stopped procrastinating. So it's kind of like I'm still working out how to like manage my time and actually focus on something and sit down and do the boring bit as well, because no job's all fun, right? The cooking bit's fun, the eating bit's fun. You got to sit down and edit and sit there and get these 50 clips and put them all into one video in a cohesive way and record the voiceover and plan it out. I mean, it's kind of fun, but it's obviously not as fun as a cooking bit.
Each video take you 4 hours?
Depends. Sometimes it's 6 hours, sometimes it's 1. It depends on what it is. It's like some things are super easy. I try and like batch them together. So it's like tomorrow I'm doing a Friday, even though it's Wednesday tomorrow. I don't know what day the podcast comes out.
Tuesday,
but yeah, so tomorrow I'm doing deep frying. So I've got 3 ideas that involve deep frying. So I'm going to film them all in one day. So I'll wake up at sort of 9, get together, get a big glass of Pepsi Max and get cracking. At the moment, because it's winter, I like to film all my videos in natural lighting. It's a big thing for my content, is that food looks better in natural lighting. So like if you're a food content creator, I know people who only film at night in their like kitchen and it's really bad lighting and stuff like that, and it's always going to be harder to get views because people like the brightness of natural lighting. 2 sunny days a week I'll film all the content, and it's like always like nice weather and it looks nice, and I'll edit on the other days. Well, yeah, so literally at the gym last night, two lads came up to me and they're like, "Are you El Burrito Monster off TikTok?" And I go, yeah. And I was just chatting away with them for a bit. And he goes, "How do you make it look like it's always nice weather around here? Because like it always looks sunny in your videos." And I just told them, I was like, yeah, the 2 sunny days a week I'll film all my content. And yeah, and then I got him to spot me on bench, and I failed the rep. So it was really embarrassing.
Do you get spotted a lot?
Yeah,
Do you?
so fun.
Really?
So it's always nights out as well.
Yeah.
So my demographic's 73% blokes. So it'll always be blokes on nights out saying, "Oh, you're that burrito guy." Ha, ha. But no, it's so funny to me because I'm just like, to them, I'm like this person on the screen, but I'm just like the most normal dude ever. And they're like, "You're actually a normal person." I have a pint with them, have a little chat, and they're like, "Oh, you're just like normal. I thought you'd be like different." And I'm like, I don't know what you're expecting. Like, I'm just a dude who happens to like start making content on the internet. And
it's been amazing chat with you, Ollie. I've loved speaking to you on the podcast. You've got an incredible story, incredible mindset when it comes to doing what you do. I think you're such a specialist, and your content is super, super, super. Well, it looks super, super yummy. We always end the podcast though with one question that we ask every single one of our guests.
Okay,
and it's to look back at 20-year-old Ollie. Now you're 25 now, but if you could look back at 20-year-old Ollie and just give him one piece of advice that would carry him through his 20s, what would you say to him?
It would honestly just be find what you want to do and just start putting time towards the future and thinking about the future. Like, it's so easy to live in the moment and just not think about what's next. You know, at 20 years old, I was probably in final year of uni, not having a clue what was next, not even putting any thoughts or not trying to work it out. I had no side hustles, no potential hobbies that could materialize. I was just coasting away, just not thinking about the future, playing PlayStation, drinking too much alcohol. And I just think, you know, it may seem boring, but just put time to think about the future, because when you start to, I mean, people talk about manifestation, right? It's like when you actually try and work towards something and figure out what you want to do and figure out what you're good at, you know, you don't want to blink and you'd be 50 years old and the thing you wanted to do, your life passion, you just didn't ever try to do it. So it's find what you're good at and just try and put time into something on the side. Find your side hustle. I mean, I know this is the most common thing ever, but like, and it gets shoved down people's throats, but find a side hustle. Find something no matter what job you have. If that's not your be all end all, find what makes you happy and just start doing something on the side. And it might materialize into something and it might not. But if it's what you love, it doesn't matter if it doesn't become your job, because you enjoy doing it anyway.
Love it. Thank you so much, Ollie. It's been so great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks very much.
Amazing.